Guess we should call the meeting to order.
Tuesday morning, you have the agendas at the front of your notebook
Yep.
Of who is up. So first up, we have Clyde for this building, for the maintenance of this building, and then he'll also talk a bit about his request for capital improvements for this building. Every one of the committee members has a copy of the budget that you submitted to me. So if you want to just talk from your work papers, that's fine. What is... Oh,
First time at this, I'm assuming I just go through this line by line and explain what's there, right?
right.
Okay. I got plenty of them. How about one?
Where's Russell's notebook? Russell, where's your notebook?
I have it with me.
Okay.
He rode his motorcycle again and probably threw it at somebody along the way.
Sorry.
All right, so at the top, department head salary, and 15 for that. So like, trying to prove to myself we're doing as much as we can in-house, as much as possible. We've been working with the contractors, able to assist with them, save them, and a little bit of labor costs, which transfers back to labor cost savings for us. Then their janitor's salary, I think is pretty much retirement, because that's according to the union position that they have, so that's not something that we can do.
And that's at 19 hours a week still. We've been working through that.
Right, and that seems to be working.
She gets everything done that
Yes,
you expect her to? Okay.
Seems to be working for us. So. Service contracts, 2015, we're at 18.5. I think that probably would work out for us. The forecast shows a little more than that, but I think that's in a formula thing that it kind of flaws it a little bit.
Right. And it's detailed out down below, is
Right.
every single contract that we have that goes in there
Right.
is written.
And those contracts pretty much will stay the same for 2016, the kind of built-in inflation into those. What's changed that we wanted to bump that up to 20,000 is I would like to add another service contract to that as a mat service. Our mats are pretty rough. We don't really have a way to clean them. I've talked to a couple of mat services. They do not clean other people's mats. So some of them are to the point where they do need to be replaced. But if we go with a mat service, we would have clean, fresh mats every other week. I tried to do a monthly thing, but they don't go that length of time. Every other week is long. But because of the traffic reasons, I thought we could get by, but they won't do that. So every other week they would deliver clean, fresh mats. It would not smell. We get rid of stains. We wouldn't have to replace them in the future, things like that. So I'd like to add that in. That's why that's gone from 18.5 to 20.
Who's the mat service you're contacting?
The one that I talked to get the budget price was Aramark.
There's a local vendor that you can just about any way you want on mat service.
Really? Okay, I was not aware.
Superior cleaners or something like that, you would write me place.
Okay.
They might find it.
Okay, check it out. Telephone, I think, is pretty much predetermined. Electricity, water, same way. Natural gas, that was at 55.3 last year. It's been put in at 50. I think it might be better than that due to the new boilers. I think we might be able to reduce that. And not only that, but we've reduced the size of the system. In researching it, we found some excess plumbing that we were able to eliminate. So we're going to be probably dealing with, I don't know, 1,200 gallons of water less than what we were last year as far as heating and cooling, plus the boiler, so I think that'll come down.
Do you think I should put in 40 then instead, or 45? What do you think the right number is?
Good question. I don't know how to approach that signature. I don't know how to go with that. I mean, we dropped it from 55 to 5. It's almost kind of wait and see thing, I think, I feel. I don't know.
So if like 15 is gonna be on track?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'd be okay with that, yeah, but it may come in less than that. That's one thing I can really throw at that, you know? Well,
That's the forecast.
I got it up to August, but I haven't got it all the way through yet. Maintenance and repair, 2015, that was at 47, but that had $20,000 earmarked for a glycol deal, which has been done and came in substantially lower than that, for the fact of reducing the size of the system, things like that. So that would take it to 27, put it at 28 because of our sign out front. Our directory is updated, needs repairs. I don't think that public health is even on that sign, so that needs to be updated. I talked to the same company. She told me what they would like to do, but she had not told me a price, so I just threw that $1,000 at it. I'm sure that would probably run out. So that's why that's at 28 rather than 27. Household supplies, 2015 was at 7. I think we're going to be good with that. If things were to remain the same, I would like to see that at 8,000, bump it up 1,000 because our vacuum cleaners, it's in on our last leg, but I think they're beyond that. So I think we need to replace vacuums. And I guess that's it. 2016 then actually is approximately 9,000 less than 2015. And that's because of glycol and things like that, gas reductions, things like that that we're taking out. Anybody got any more questions?
Installations will have help on that heating too,
Yes, yes, yes it should. Maybe like an inch and a half.
So I'm wondering if I shouldn't just put 40 there instead of 50. If you look, the pace right now is at 41. We've got all these other things coming out.
We got a good price on our natural gas lock in, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how hard a winter we have.
Yeah, we got a new roof with insulation.
Yeah,
Right,
but, yeah,
right.
hopefully
Okay.
that'll all settle out of it,
I'll make a note to reduce that to 40.
We're gonna have to do something, guys. We what,
Don't you
360
think?
short here?
So we got, is there 41, so what's projected now?
Yeah, you could almost go 35, but
I don't
Why
know.
would you go 11?
it's projected right now, but we're gonna, that's without insulation and without this reduction of all the piping
Plus we got, this is a more efficient boiler. And a boiler.
and a boiler replacement.
And with that system, right, with the old system, we probably had 2 2,000 gallons or more that we were dealing with, you know. Now, we don't. Well, I bet we could cut that in half, I would think. You know, where we're only dealing with 1,000 gallons now as far as, you know, heating and cooling type purposes.
I think it'd be safe if they went to add jack.
I think he's gonna mow that. I'm gonna look at, yeah, I'm gonna look
Yeah, the
at,
bike, but everybody a jack, it'll save us money, guys.
$45 for a jack.
the grant application
somebody's
that
bar
we
with-
should cut our
with a logo on
heating
the back,
expense
give
in
us
half
free,
by replacement of this boiler. So I'm gonna take a look at that and talk to Henneman to see if, what they would quantify that at, because maybe there's more that we can take out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, if you want to talk about capital improvements and what you have in there for capital improvements.
Capital improvement, 2015, we had 45,000 in 4 heat pumps. This year, we've only had 1 heat pump so far that we've had to replace. We've got another one kind of in temperamental with us. But I would kind of like to see that probably remain the same. And hopefully we get...
How many are left to be replaced?
20. I don't know how many have been replaced in the last couple of years, so...
We started out with what? How many, Kyle, do you remember how many we had started with?
It's about 30.
Yeah, I want to say 28, but we're still in around 20 would be my guess.
20, 21,
We only probably... Still a lot. Still a lot.
Yeah, 20 of them at 14,000.
Well, that is the largest one in the building, that one that is replaced. I'm not saying that the other one's going to be half that price, but that would probably be the highest price one that we have in the building. That was the largest one. The other capital improvement thing I have is painting on the exterior of the building in different places where primers actually let the valve go, and we've got some pretty good spots where the paint is flaking off up on the high part of the roof. And most of it is on the south side of the building. I'm assuming because the hotter side of the building. I contacted the painting contractor to have him come in. He said, yeah, there's no reason to paint the whole building. It's actually in pretty good shape. So we spent some time walking around the building, and what he saw that he thought needed to be repaired and whatever that he could do, he gave us a budgetary price of $7,000. That's gonna have to improve the primer is let go back to the
Yeah,
galvanized.
that's fine, right?
Agenda.
So I have the impression trying to put the galvanized.
Questions?
Maintenance and repairs, 28,000. That would be enough for roughly two generators, or 2 or 8 pumps.
No, that's not what's in there. The heat pumps are over here at 45,000, and that's enough for 3. Maintenance and repair line over here is just ongoing things for this building here that happen. Jim Devine is up next, and he is not here right now. I don't know if you'd like to wait. Sheriff is up next at 9 o'clock. If we want Sheriff to go ahead and in lieu of waiting for Jim, or would you rather just wait for Jim?
I'll give his presentation.
Jim right there.
Oh, here's Jim? Okay, perfect. We're waiting for you. You guys are always late. Always running late.
The one year I come late,
Which
you're on time.
top of the schedule, so you can be there,
Start at 8:30, and the sheriff would be 20 minutes, late or something. Sir? Pretty simple for me, though. Asking for the same thing as I did last year.
There's nothing you wanted to talk the committee through, Jim, at all? Nothing?
No, just, not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I fortunately have a pretty straightforward budget. Most of my budget is salaries. We hope to, you never can foresee what you're going to have in your criminal prosecution. I've got a couple $1,000 left in that or less in this budget, and I still have a murder trial to try in less than 3 weeks. And it won't be horribly expensive to try the murder trial, but I do have a pathologist who's going to come in to testify, and her bill is going to be $3,000, which I don't have. So I'll probably go over in the criminal prosecution line item. So I need a forecast is going to be pretty accurate. But hopefully overall budget should be online to make up that overage with other savings. And I have Bill Cheatham to help me out on that expense as well as the year goes on, in this budget year, on that particular pathologist line item. I've got to have her testify, and it's a $3,000 bill. She's already told me that.
But someone thought the bill is looking all over help for money too.
He's got an automation fund I'm going to look to tap into, though, so, but we'll see. It's up to him.
there's the four tops of the line. Running way over.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah, that's another way to predict what your autopsy expenses are going to be. I'm predicting 2016 is going to be a lower year. Anyone have any questions on my requests?
You have one salary increase?
Actually, yeah. What happened is I rearranged everything. I gave Alex more money. He was at $61,000. I bumped him up to $65,000, so I gave him a $4,000 increase. But I also had Addison leave me. Addison Wade left me during this fiscal year. The ASA that I brought on was less expensive because she has less experience than Addison had, and so her salary is at 55, and Alex's is at 65. So what I did was I added $1,000 ultimately to that line item, but I also had a savings because I have a secretary, Amy Crawford, who left me
for another position for more money. And so I had a savings there when I hired a new secretary. Plus there was about 8 weeks when I only had one secretary, so that opened the savings. So again, it's kind of a wash.
For this year, but it'll increase, you see the increase for next year.
For next
then.
year, right, $5,000
Because
in that line item. It was 119, so I'm asking that to go to 120. But again, I'll have a savings on the secretarial side, because I got a secretary that started off, well, $2.50 an hour less, so that'll make up for that. So it's a wash. And it kind of works out, because I have happier assistant state's attorneys who are near and dear to my heart as far as the operation of the office. Can't do it without them. And if they're being paid what I think is a fair amount, I mean, they're not in this to make a lot of money, but for Alex O'Brien's experience, and he's been with me 9 years, he does all of my felonies. He's helping out significantly on this murder trial. And, other ASAs with his experience are making, depending where you live, but for Iroquois County type populations, he's right on the money where he should be. So, and he's content with it. Kara Max is my other new ASA. She came from Kankakee County, and so I'm paying for 55. And she's been practicing about 5 years. She was in private practice for about 2.5 years, and then she was with the Kankakee County State's Attorney's Office for a little over 2 years. And she's a catch, because Kankakee had obviously they have their problems financially, and I know the State's Attorney's Office had to cut some people. She didn't get cut. They like her. She's good. But she's a Watsika girl. Her parents still live here in Watsika. She grew up here, went to school here. She lives in Bourbonnais and for right now, and so she's going to commute with her fiance lives there too. So we'll get her eventually into Iroquois County to live. But it's not a requirement that they live in the county. But she's very good.
She's not likely to leave.
I don't think so. And that was, the judge she clerked for Judge Kinzer before she got her law license. She clerked for Judge Kinzer. And I know Judge Lesfeld and Judge Keller both love her. They did work of her. She's very competent, very good. We're lucky to have somebody like Kara. Good stuff. Good family.
Anybody got any questions?
Jim has teen court fund on behind, and then his automation fund, and you have those sheets as well.
Teen court anymore, with the youth diversion fund, is more of a fund for grants anymore. We used to run a teen court, but when we got cut a couple years ago, when Sharon's position basically got cut, and then probation lost a secretary, they did a lot of that work, that background work, to get teen court up and running, and since those positions left, it's essentially been a grant position where people apply for money from this, what is it they doing, the little kids, the 911, Camp 911 usually asks for money every year. That serves, I think, the first and second, third graders. And that's been a very beneficial place for some of this money. But we spread it around throughout the years. I mean, just about every community in Iroquois County has received some money from this through the years. There's a youth-oriented business. Yeah, correct. And we have a committee that meets periodically or as necessary when there is a request for the dispensing of this money. And automation is what it is. unheard of, but it still keeps cranking.
Well, no more questions, thank you.
Ready? Thank you.
How you on?
Hurts.
Yes.
I did.
You can win race.
I didn't win. I wasn't going that fast, unfortunately. I don't have a good excuse for why I crashed. It was a crash. That was a crash. I actually turned around to talk to my wife, and my handlebar went to the right, clipped in, and I went down.
Let's blame it on to his wife.
And I do. At least I'm not saying she bumped me or caught me. Not officially. Now, the camera's not on, right? Okay, I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Well, we're going to do the best we can, but we are looking at a shortfall, so just, you know.
Kevin, I wouldn't expect to hear anything less.
No.
Isn't that what we hear every year?
Every year we do that.
Expenses are going to be down. Expenses are going to be up. So,
I don't know what the hell we're going to do. Well, it'd be a lot easier if we knew what the state was doing.
I agree. And who knows where that's going to go.
Yeah. Well, we should be gaining.
Yep. You get the fire.
I do. Yeah, I have Danny Murphy is my other murder. It will in the next fiscal year, not this year. The defense attorney wants Pat Howell as expert, and so that's going to take time for that person to get records and an analysis, and that will probably be county expense to pay for that. The judge will have to authorize it because Dale Stroud's public defender on that case. And I am very sure that case will go to trial this year, or this budget year. Very good. I don't want to comment too much about it. Well, you got to do certain things, and that's one of them. But, I mean, it's a trial case. It's a good case. We wouldn't have filed it unless I thought we could get a conviction on it. So, we'll see where it goes. The defendant is a on parole, and he's got a long prison history. So, that makes him guilty of this crime. That's why we're going to hang him here. Try the case if we need to. Oh, no, I'm talking about Danny Murphy, that's the beating in Milford. Or condoms? Oh, what, the chances of death settling are 0. Yeah. Don't go to trial. Any questions? Thank you.
You're up.
Are you ready?
Punch something for him?
No, this is Eric Sessi gave it to me. His copy.
I've never seen a copy of his. He did not turn it into me.
Oh, I didn't? No, it'll be here today.
Look at it.
Shortest one. Easiest one. I've got it. Thank you.
Well, first off, let me start off with some good news. I don't know, the capital expense, there's two capital expense lines. One's the sheriff's capital, which is what we usually buy squad cars out of. The other is our maintenance capital. Now, last year,
you folks had budgeted about $140,000 plus in the regular capital, and that was $93,000 for the roof, $32,000 for the generator, $15,000 for water lines. So there was roughly $140,000 in the, I'm going to call it the courthouse jail capital expense line. This year that goes from $140,000 plus to $15,000. The only capital expense we're planning at the jail and the courthouse is the $15,000 to do the water lines upstairs on the second floor. So there's $125,000 left there. Now, in the sheriff's capital last year, you budgeted $50,000, which went to squad cars, and this year I'm asking.
If you go back, sorry,
Okay.
go back to the maintenance department,
One Clyde was talking about?
the one Clyde was talking about, there's that capital fund there, and I should have made a copy for sheriff's also, and I
That's
didn't,
okay.
so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But that's the only capital expense project we have planned at the jail or courthouse for the next fiscal year. It's the $15,000 for the water lines on the second floor. Yes.
Right.
So that's a good thing compared to what it was last year at roughly 140 some thousand. On the sheriff's capital, which is it's in the 110,715 capital improvement.
Yep, that's the one, Charlie. It's the page after the payroll sheet.
In the sheriff.
In the sheriff. There we go. That 100,000 there, last year it was 50,000, this year 100, and that was what I explained as the 2 squad cars for patrol, which would be marked and have the light bars and all that stuff, and then also the detective vehicles that I have right now are, one is a 2002 and one's a 2005. One's got over 200,000 miles on it. The other one's getting pretty close to pushing that. So that's what that request is for. Now the unmarked detective vehicles, barring any type of accident, those usually last us at least 10 years. So that's why that increase there is 50,000 over from last year. If possible, I would like to get that done.
So that's more cars.
That'd be 4 cars total. Last year we got 2. So I guess to start off with, overall, last year between the 2 capital line items or funds, there was roughly 190,000 budgeted, and this year we're looking at 115,000, which I didn't come in and ask for any more money in those 2. So that's got to be a little bit of good news. And I guess if you want to go back to the very first page of my folder in there that's got the general fund sheriff, 110,210. That's got all the salaries and that on it. Of course, salaries are adjusted pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement between the county and the FOP. One thing I would like to show is 7 lines down, office expense, expense 6,100. The 15,000, for years there was 8,000 budgeted in there. And what happened is 911 for, I'm going to say 10 plus years, paid the software maintenance agreement for the sheriff's office, which deals with book-in, when inmates are booked in. It deals with the mug shots, it deals with the civil process computer software, and it deals with the live scan fingerprint machine. Those 4 networks all talk to each other. So if we fingerprint somebody, it'll pull up any civil stuff we've had on them, any criminal stuff, any mugshots we have, their arrest record, and all of that. That right now quarterly runs, it's about $1,000 a month, so it's running right at about $12,000 a year, which 911 used to pay. However, this year, part of 2014 and all of 2015, they haven't had the funding to do that, so they haven't. So that's come out of my budget. A question may be, what happens if we don't have that maintenance agreement? Well, the maintenance agreement does two things. One, it gives us the automatic updates to that system that happen throughout the year. And two, it gives us, between the hours of 9 and 5, if something goes wrong with the system, they come in and they fix it at no cost to us. If we don't have it, we pay for the updates when they come out. And if something goes wrong with the system, I think right now it's roughly, it's about like an attorney, it's roughly around $300 an hour when they, if they have to come and do something. Of course, that includes their travel time, that includes all of that. So,
What's this contract cost?
it's about $1,000 a month. It's about $12,000. It's $2,900 and some change every every quarter. And
Sorry.
it's okay.
I thought that was, I saw that in public safety fund, coming out of public safety fund.
I've taken a couple of payments out of that, but that only generates about $10,000 a year. And so for 2015, because I think initially I asked for around, I don't remember what I asked for in 2015 to cover this, and it was cut back. And so I've had to make, I know for sure one, maybe two payments towards that out of the public safety fund. But what I would like to do is possibly get that office expense increase to where I can cover at least 3/4 of it out of that. I mean, if I could get $20,000 in office expense, I'd definitely take it to pay it plus my regular $8,000, but I'm not counting on that. So I'm still planning on taking a payment or two out of public safety.
There's a process that you're talking about, what's technology used for?
Well, it's the
Lifespan?
Well, yeah, the networks that we have that all plug into it, we have a program called InterSlam, which is our jail bookend program. Then we have the LiveScan, which is the inkless fingerprint that's done on the computer. Then we have the civil process network, which is what my Arsenal enters all our civil paperwork and processing.
Software.
And then there's also the CAD system itself, which is the call system that 911 enters calls into. So there's four, basically I call them networks. It may not be the right terminology, but there's four separate entities coming in to one, and this maintains all of that, and then they all talk together. So if civil process, if you enter a name in the civil process program, you can also pull out anything from the jail side, whether that person's been arrested. You can pull up a mugshot of them. You can pull up their fingerprints. You can do all of that.
That software is basically yours, or something that's private?
Yeah, well, like I said, initially, it all talks together because 911, when they initially set it up, was paying for everything. So it's a I guess interactive software between 911 and us. One company maintains it all. Emergitech. Who does that? Most of the other line items below that are, about the same. I did. This year, the budget for gas and oil is $68,000. Next year, I lowered that to $65,000. That again is always a crapshoot. I mean, gas is, well, it's $2.49 in Watsika. We pay less than that because we don't pay the taxes, but next year it could be $4.
So that's kind of always a crapshoot on that. Maintenance of autos, I left the same. Diet of prisoners, which is also a big expense, I left the same because we're trending at hitting almost 74,000 this year, so I left that the same. The other increase, the second to last item, maintenance and repairs, it's 30,000 this year, 37 next year. One of those reasons being the chiller unit out there that's the Trane, TRANE chiller unit for the courthouse and the jail. It's located on the east side of the jail. The maintenance on that, as far as coming in, and about every 6 to 8 years, I think it is, they've come in and they've completely gone over the system. They've replaced sensors. They've maintained it to where something doesn't go wrong with it, to where it's shut down. So that extra $7,000 may be a little bit high. When I was talking with Larry, he wasn't for sure, because I think it's actually been 8 years since they've done it. But we shot that price, which he thinks would cover it. But they have not gotten back to us to tell us when they can do it and what that cost would be. So that's the only real noticeable increase, other than the office expense, as far as my general fund account. And if you look at that, at the bottom there, $1,751,454. This year it's $1,661,515. That's an increase of almost $90,000, which is about a 5% increase. Now, out of that, almost $90,000, the vast majority of it is going to be from the increases, the wage increases. Yeah.
That's all contraction.
Yeah. That being said, I'm obviously not asking for any additional personnel. I would always take additional personnel, but I'm not asking for it. We're doing okay right now. We've got 6 hours out of the day that there's only one deputy on. I'm getting used to the phone calls of, how come it took 45 minutes to get somebody here? Well, because we prioritize calls, and I've got one person out there working right now. So, but as far as that goes, definitely at the minimum that we can go to provide some type of coverage out there. We've been fortunate enough that there's been some municipalities that haven't done away with their police department yet, which is nice, because that's just added cost for us. But I don't know what's going to come down once some of these villages lose their full-time person, whether or not they'll decide to bring somebody back on. The only one that actually has, that they signed an agreement with Kankakee County, was Chavance. They don't have a police officer up there anymore. So, our calls, we're running 4% higher on calls already this year than over last, and I don't see that going down at all. But I'm not asking for any additional personnel. So, any questions of me on that first?
You lost me when you were talking about a change in paid out of 911. How can we follow that on a budget?
Well, in here, there'll be a couple sheets in. There'll be the public safety, which is the fees we collect from agencies that arrest people and bring them to us. That public safety fund we've used for the last 10 years numerous things. We bought equipment when we've had to. This year, because the office expense line item didn't have enough in it to do the total maintenance agreement with Emergitech, I had to take, I filed claims through that to pay some of those quarterly claims. So, it's all in the budget. It's just a matter of when you see those claims, you have to look at what fund and what account out of that fund it comes out of, and then you can track it back to that.
I got a question. On
Okay.
this joint computer system, is the county paying all that, or is 911 paying part of that?
The
They used to
agreement?
pay them. They used to pay.
He's talking software, he was talking software.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
Yes.
Software and maintenance.
Yeah, 911 used to pay that,
Yeah.
all.
Now we're picking it all up.
and we're picking it up now.
It sounds like some of it was his software to start out with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of it was their software. And it's amazing that it all talks, and it's probably good that you get one contract to take care of all four, but I'm not an IT person.
Yeah, I'm not either. I just, I know under the current system we have the benefits, like I said, are from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, they'll come and work on it, and any updates throughout the year are free. You don't pay for, they're just included with that maintenance agreement, so.
It's very spooky to have software that you don't have a maintenance contract on, thinking that if something would happen, you're dead in the water. But at the same time, it's very expensive, so, ooh.
So yeah, so that's, I think, part of 14, either the last quarter or the last 2 quarters of 14, the county paid, and then this year, the county's been paying through the sheriff's budget, has been paying the agreement. And there's one coming, I'm sure there's probably one coming up here pretty quick too, another $2,900 and some dollars.
Yeah, I was just wanting to track it because
Is it something that could be paid, does it benefit the circuit clerk or the court system? I'm looking for
Yeah.
like other funding sources, maybe automation.
Yeah, that, because, and that's one of the things, like, the circuit clerk, she's got her gym system,
Right.
and that which
It
doesn't
doesn't
cost.
hook into
None
that?
of, none of that costs, none of that.
damn shame they don't talk.
Yeah, none of it is connected in together, which, that's good and bad, I think. Sometimes the good thing is that way you have less, if everybody's systems are hooked into each other, you run the greater risk of some type of security, something bad happening where, somebody gets into your system and now they come in through one system and they have access to everybody else's. So, but it does make it, it would make it nice if all the systems, at least over at the courthouse, talk. But, we hold juvenile information in our system, which is confidential. So does the circuit clerk because of the court. So does the state's attorney. So does probation. So there's some issues there sometimes on
Privacy.
hooking systems together and who's going to have access to what.
Anybody got any more questions? What,
The judicial committee was talking about making some improvements in the security of the courthouse. And I just wondered if the committee wanted to address funding for that somehow. I think, John, didn't we get some initial cost estimates on some glass? Didn't you speak to someone?
I just received that yesterday.
Is that something we should address in this budget? Make some kind of allowance for it?
I would think that if it's something we want to do, it should be, but that hasn't been decided yet.
Well, I know, but when we do decide, if there's nothing in the budget, we can't do anything.
Right now, it looks like it'll probably be somewhere around $8,000 or $9,000 to do something like that, something like that.
well, we can try to put some contingency money in the fund, the contingency fund, in case that would come up. Right now, we're looking like a pretty good shortfall, so.
And I have talked to judicial a few times when they brought this up. Additional security features at the courthouse would, I guess, would be beneficial somewhat. I mean, most people aren't going to turn away added security. However, with how the budget is going to look for next year and the limitation of funds, my 2 cents on it would be that those funds are spent somewhere else in county government.
Somebody's got to give something up to do that. We all know it.
And, you know, it's, one thing as far as security goes, if someone's determined to do something, they're going to be determined to do it, and you can have all the security protocol you want set up, and something bad can still happen. Down the road, if we were looking at putting up some type of partitions, whether they be glass or bullet resistant or something like that, I wouldn't have a problem with it as of right now, and trying to come up with some money for that. My personal opinion is, I think those funds can be better used somewhere else right now.
Yeah, personally, if I had an extra money, I'd try to get you money for them cars. Because you're getting there's more important than possible safety there.
Yeah. Something else that's been brought up, and it's along the same line, is the judge. I've met with Judge Lesfeld a couple different times. He would like to see an armed deputy in the courthouse all the time. Obviously, right now, I don't have the manpower to do that, and I'm not coming asking for that, because
we don't have
that would be an expensive cost. So those talks are occurring right now. A few years down the road, whether it's doable or not, I don't know. But you know, and I'll talk a little bit about it here when we get into some of these, like court security. They have increased that fee that they collect from $15 to $25. I think that happened last year.
Who do they collect that from?
They collect that from the folks that use the courthouse for criminal and civil, and well, I believe it's just criminal now. If someone gets arrested, part of their court costs and fees are split up among 50 different things, and so yeah, so $25 out of their costs and fees go to the court security fund. So
Is that building up, or do they use that?
well, we pay the court security officer and benefits out of that. It's as far as building up, I mean, you know, by the time we pay those salary and benefits and this and that, it can vary. Some years we may be $4,000 or $5,000 to the good, maybe a little more than that, a little less than that. So if you want, that next page is that court security, and it's I know the forecast. It's 330 court security. It's under the 210 sheriff.
It's the first page after his
After
main.
the main.
Right,
budget.
right. If you turn his page, that next page right there.
I see it.
Here.
The forecast for this year, the 41.2, I still think, because a lot of times towards the end of the fiscal year, we make larger deposits, I guess, if you want to call it, in that account. I'm still thinking we're going to do better than that, but we'll see. So for the 16 budget, when I did the 40,000, that's a very conservative, low estimate on what we'll bring in on that. And then you can see where the officer salary, the court security officer, the DUI expense, and then contingent is just something that we have. Sometimes there's a little thing here or there that we need to get out front where the security, I guess, checkpoint is, and we have that in there. So if you look at that, based on estimations, roughly $2,700 to the good next year. It could be, like I said, more than that, depending on how busy the filing of criminal charges is against folks, or I guess the convictions on criminal charges.
If you look at the next page, the payroll sheet, the ones that are shaded just a bit, those are the non-union ones, the only ones that really have any sort of, I would say, flexibility in terms of the rest, the sheriff, and then all the rest are FOP, and they're already They're contractual. It looks like I didn't shade Larry, though. Larry should be shaded also.
So that's, that's the payroll side of it. Again, that administrative assistant salary, that $10,000, that's never gone up for, I think, 8 years now we've done that. We share that person with 911. We get 12 hours a week in the office, and then that person also covers when my full-time administrative assistant, Donna Arsenal, when she's on vacation or if she's sick, then that part-time person spends that entire day, or if it's a vacation, that entire week at the sheriff's office doing the civil process and clerical duties side of it. The only other thing is that part-time corrections, that was assuming 20 hours a week. There's some months we very rarely use a part-timer. Other months like June, July, and August, because of vacations, we use quite often. So let's see. Then, of course, we have the next one after that is the general fund, capital improvements. That's the squad cars. That's the one I talked about, the 4 squad cars. The one after that is the public safety fund. The sheriff's office collects $26 from every arrestee that agencies bring to us as a processing fee, except the state police. They're exempt from it. So you can see down there, we've used that for different things. We bought computers. We had to upgrade a couple of our computers that were the old XP. The area-wide had recommended, so I paid for that out of this account. I did pay at least one of the quarterly maintenance agreements, which was $2,700 back then when we paid it. I paid that out of that as well. Next page, police vehicle fund. This is another thing where when Charlie asked where those fees come from, someone gets a speeding ticket and they plead guilty or they're found guilty and they pay fines. $5 of that fee goes into the arresting agency's police vehicle fund. Right now, I think actually hopefully by the end of this fiscal year, there should roughly be around $20,000 in that. I'm going to use that to go towards cars as well. And then you'll see where, we'll bring in the 2011 actual and 2012 actual. A couple of those were vehicles that we had seized through drug investigations, Article 36, stuff like that. And when they were sold, when it comes to any type of seizure that we have, I'll go to the state's attorney and get his opinion on where that money goes. Some of it statutorily says it has to go into a certain fund, like your drug seizure money. You seize cash at a search warrant or in a drug arrest. That has to go into the drug abuse fund. You can't put it in the general fund. You can't put it in anything. It has to go specifically to that. So that's why those 2 years it looked quite high on what was brought in. It's going to range, from 6,000 to I got 3,500 in there. The less deputies out there. And I by no means see law enforcement as a revenue-generating occupation, but the less officers out there writing tickets, the less money you're collecting because there's fewer tickets being written. So, the guys out on the road right now are pretty busy going from call to call. So, my guess would be that our traffic stops over the years have gone down because we've got fewer people out there. But that's what that is. After that, the sheriff's e-citation fee, again, that's another cost that the courts put on someone who gets a traffic ticket. I think out of the years it's been involved, we're maybe, I don't even know if we have $1,000 in that account yet, because you get such a small... We have 1,000, okay. They set that up to where if you ever go to the electronic tickets where you write, it's a paperless ticket basically, everything's done in the squad car on the computer, you give a receipt to the person, and then that information is automatically sent to the circuit clerk's office via computer software, and it's cutting down on the paper. But by the time we get enough money to buy any of that kind of equipment, I'm going to be retired and doing something. It just doesn't generate many funds, but we have to have it statutorily, so that's why that's in there. The next one's the medical costs. What's nice about this is we bill inmates for their medical costs, and at the end of their sentence or at the end of their case disposition, the clerk can add that on to their reimbursement. So it may take us a little while to get that back, but eventually we do recoup some of that. That's why on my general fund, I've been able to basically, we used to budget years ago like $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 for doctor fees, and I think we're down to like maybe $1,000 on that now because we can use this money to pay any of those fees. And then the last one is the drug abuse fund. That's the one where if we see money or anything of value on drug investigations, that has to go into there. So that can vary. I mean, one year we had an officer that stopped out and received $40,000. The next year, you may get $1,000, so that varies too. So that's what that entails. So any other questions or concerns?
Do you have cameras in any of these homes?
No, we do not. And as far as the body-worn cameras, I'm waiting until the legal counsel for the Sheriff's Association gets back with us and lets us know. Well, there's a lot of privacy concerns. I mean, you're walking into somebody's house for a problem, you got a camera on that's not only picking up the person that you're dealing with, but everything that's surrounding them, all the conversations, and what they haven't determined, or what they're starting to determine, I guess, but it's not complete, is what's FOIA-able. So if, let's say if I'm at your house and a problem and I got one on and Russell wants to know what's in your house, he could FOIA it and say, hey, this call on this time, I want to see what that was. And so there's a lot of privacy concerns with that, and I'm not ready to turn anybody loose with one yet until I get the opinion from our legal counsel. But no, the in-car cameras, they're coming down somewhat cost-wise. Those still run several $1,000s, and I can find other places to use those funds right now.
So it seems like it's getting a pretty big thing.
It is.
Traffic. I figured it would throw money at you. So.
Not yet, anyway. I haven't seen of any grants out there for it, but that wouldn't surprise me at some point if that happens. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
We do have an opening from 9:30 to 9:45. I had to move. I can't remember if it was Lisa or Tom that I had originally slotted in there, but because of issues, they had to get moved. Lisa Fancher is up next at 9:45. Are you ready, Lisa?
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't fed in on any of these this year, so how are you doing it? Where do you want to start?
They already have copies of everything, so if you just want to talk through your budget, the line items and what changes you made and why or didn't make,
Okay.
that'd be fine.
I didn't make many changes at all. I'm on the one that says General Fund, County Clerk 410. Is that what you guys are?
Yep, they're in order actually by fund, so.
I left the office expense the same, the expense of office. Yearbook tax rate, that's just $100. We just use that for card stock and stuff like that to do our tax rate books, and
yearbook. Mileage and travel, left that the same. Education and dues, left that the same. That's to go to zone meetings and conferences, which I don't get to as many as I should, but I always put it in there because I always think I'm going to. And don't always. The maintenance contract line, we went this year with like the others, the proven copy machine. So our contract for the year, I believe, is $2,700, and that includes everything. That includes toner, and is that the same for everybody?
Right.
So we thought we'd use that $500 maintenance contract line. Well, I used to use that for is on our old copy machine if it needed fixed. That's where we would use it. So we use that line to pay for $500 of it, and then just have to pay the rest of it out of like automation or something like that.
And then you've got some increases for your chief deputies.
I do. I put 1,000 for each of the chief deputies. Is that on that page too?
It's on the front, it's the
Okay.
second line.
Right.
That's second line.
Two
Yeah.
people. Right.
It is, yes, chief deputies. Elections?
Mm-hmm.
Are you next? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, for my election budget, in the even years it's comparable, and in the odd years it's comparable, because in even years, obviously, there's 2 elections, in odd years, just 1. Overall, they consider an election to cost approximately $50,000. About $30,000 of it goes for ballot setup, ballot support from GES, our election vendor, precinct kits, supplies, and also there's a lot of publication costs that a lot of things have to be published in the newspaper. So I put 41 in 2012 it was 41, and in 2014 it was, oh, I'm sorry, this is for election judge salaries, okay?
Right.
And in 2014 it was right about 41 too. Hopefully we'll continue to get the reimbursement that we get, $45 per judge from the state, but that's always on the chopping block. So far we've always got it, but we're always worried about not getting it. But I'll just leave it the same and just hope that we get it. Next
They've
one.
got 2 elections.
2 elections in 2016, the primary and the general, and the presidential, obviously, so it'll be a big election. It'll be busy, and we'll need as many election judges as we can get. We'll need to try to have 5 in each precinct if possible, whereas on the consolidated elections, you can go a little bit lower, but got to try to get 5 in each precinct for this one, for those 2 in 2016. Voter canvassing is just a $200 line. Use it for mileage sometimes on election day. Not sure what else we use that for, just miscellaneous things. Ballots and supplies. In 2012, it was $76,000 that we actually used. In 2014, it was only $65,000. So I just took those 2 and averaged them and came up with $71,000. And like I said, it's about $30,000 per election for actual ballots and supplies, not including anything else, publications and all those other things. The training line is, okay, that's for election judge training. And
There again, every other one is big.
can't read my own writing. Mine's handwritten. What do I have on there?
14,000.
No, 6,600.
6,600, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I did about the same thing. I did kind of an average. Yeah.
It's
And
a
what-
little bit more.
In 2012, it was 7,000. In 2014, it was only 6,000. So I just kind of took those 2 and averaged them.
Is that based on the number of election judges?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's only one election.
Oh, 1 election.
One election, and I don't know, something, is that what I wrote? maybe that's not it. Someplace I couldn't figure out a number. It does definitely look out of whack. But I can't remember if that's the number. And maintenance contract is our voter registration system that we pay to VOTEC. We've been really fortunate to get a grant that has pretty much reimbursed us for that at 100%. And again, that's one that is on very shaky ground if things happen, if big budget cuts happen in Springfield. So I left it at the $14,000, and we'll hope that we continue to get enough to cover that. The next thing is just our salary sheet, and like Anita said, I put 1,000 in for each of the chief deputies. Then automation county clerk and county recorder, so these are revenues. I didn't have any reason to believe that our revenues would sharply increase or decrease in any part of the office in 2016. So I kind of just went with the averaging and what it had been. Automation expenses left them exactly the same as they were last year, because basically that's all a lot of the things that we purchased with our automation line.
So as needed for transfers to the general
Yeah.
fund?
I just left that
Excellent,
blank, and-
excellent, thank you.
Well, I don't even know how much I even have right now in
Yeah.
my automation, but I just figured I'd kind of leave it blank, and then wherever you need shored up can help out. Absolutely, yeah. Whatever you want. Have I skipped anything that you want to know about? Like I said, as far as my revenues, got no reason to believe they'll be much different than they have been. Oh, I know where I had a question, Anita, was on the automation county recorder, 410 county clerk, where it says GIS special fund fees. In 2015, it's got $70,000 in here. What?
Well, I think, if I remember right, I don't know off the top of my head, when we put GIS in place, did we not increase your fee from $1 to like $7.50 or something like that per deed? So my question is to you, where's that extra going? Is it not going here like we planned? Does it go to GIS directly?
It goes to Bob's GIS.
Okay.
So the breakdown of a recording fee in my office is $55 to record a document. $11 is our automation fund, and then GIS, the GIS part of it is $21. 20 of it goes directly to GIS. We call it Bob's GIS.
Right.
And then I get $1 of it for our automation fund. And then $14 recording fee goes to general fund, and $9 state surcharge fund goes to the state.
So I think we were thinking that once that went into place, you would get a bigger chunk of that.
I think that's in the wrong place, though.
I don't know.
The GIS special fund fees, GIS,
I don't know.
because obviously in 2015, we
Yeah.
only collected 2,309, so.
Right. The budget number is obviously askew, so. Now, the Fiddler thing, you've got money in there to do more of your automation of all the old records? Lisa? Fiddler, is that what Fiddler you don't, miscellaneous 20,000 in automation county recorder. Aren't you working on a project to automate all the old records going backwards?
Actually, that's paid.
Oh, it's done?
Yeah, and we won't be doing any more for probably a couple years because we have to, we're indexing all those records that got digitized in the office because it was quite expensive to have them do it. So there's 3 of us that know how to do it, and as time permits, we're indexing them ourselves, and we won't be doing any more documents, getting digitized until we get the indexing completed. So, I didn't change those, but
Yeah.
well, that 20,000 miscellaneous is just where, like, say, I said earlier, I've got what I tell you, my proven contract was 3,700, but I only have 500 in maintenance, so the rest of it I'll take out of automation, just little things that we end up paying for out of automation.
Can you take the 20,000 out of that, draw the data?
Yeah, you can, you can take that out of there, but I'm still gonna need to use my automation fund to pay
Solve
for
that.
something.
Well, go ahead.
I got a question on these different grants. Or how many of them do you think are at risk with the state situation?
The next page, election grants?
Yeah.
Well, actually, there is a grant that's coming available to us, but it's just for handicap accessibility. So they're still offering some grants. All those grants there are, how do I say this, Anita? They were offered over the years. They're done.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know why I still have lines about them.
Well, and if you go, the $14,000 voter registration grant revenue, that $14,000 she had in there, that's also budgeted in the election department, that maintenance contract, $14,000 for VOTEC. If the grant comes available, we don't see it in the general fund, she can use it out of this grant fund. But she doesn't know at this point whether or not they're going to offer that grant to them.
I'm nervous about it.
Yeah.
About whether we'll.
I'm nervous about a lot of things.
Yeah, and the election judge reimbursement, that always seems to be, we worry about that every year.
Right.
State.
Right.
Both those are state.
Right.
But I've been worrying about it for 5 years, and we've still always got it every year, but I know things are shaking us, so.
Yeah, you've got a couple risky things, the
Yeah.
voter judge thing.
So they notify you and then you apply for it?
Yep. And actually, when they have additional money, when they have extra money, they will give you more money on a first-come, first-served basis. And last year, Diane was like, right on top of it, and we got a whole bunch more money.
Yeah, paid, instead of
Yeah.
paying 50% of that maintenance contract, we were expecting like $7,000. She got $14,000, paid 100% of that bill, which is huge for us in the general fund.
I hope this doesn't happen to us, but you probably saw in the Kankakee Journal that counties over 100,000 are going to have voter registration at the polling places, which means each one of the polling places has to have a laptop computer that's connected to the county clerk's office voter registration system. Nightmare. Cost-wise, and training-wise for election judges. I don't know how Kankakee County is going to do it. I hope that they never
Change the population.
change that so that it ends up being all counties, but I'm concerned about it because that's the kind of stuff that happens to make these laws that don't really make any kind of sense and don't fund them, as you know. I'm not concerned about it for 2016. I think that's going to be a trial year, but once they put the laws in place, they don't seem to ever back off of them, even if they aren't really good or successful. Yeah, I guess I put in my notes on that, like you were asking Kevin, how sure am I? I put who knows question mark on
Yeah.
there, because it's just a gamble.
That's where they could kill us a bunch of different ways here.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's my concern. I mean, we're already looking at, what, 360 shortfall, and we don't
Can
know
you,
what other ways
do you
they
know right
can.
now how much I got in my automation, or do you not have that in your?
I don't, I didn't
It
bring it with
doesn't
me.
matter,
I
but-
should know and I don't. I think that one's the bigger one usually, isn't it?
The recorder.
The recorder
Yeah, the
one.
clerk side usually doesn't have a whole lot, but
not sure.
hopefully there's a lot in there, and I'll be able to help, in places. And if there's small areas that you need to cut, from my numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna die if you have to do that, so, usually able to return a little bit from my
Right.
budget every year,
Right.
so.
And tomorrow will be a big day when we talk about revenue and things like that. So I'll bring the cash balances with me.
Okay.
And if you want to be available when we start doing that, that'll start like 9-ish, I think. Then we'll really start looking at some of these numbers and hashing those out.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions? Anita, did my numbers look all right?
Yeah, they look good. I think you're,
Well, thank you.
I knew where you were coming from
Okay,
on all of
good.
them.
That was one. Right, thank you.
No, next is Eric Sacy, but I did not receive Eric's budget ahead of time, so it's not in any of your books. Eric, did you bring copies for all the committee?
I did.
Have we made any changes on in the last couple of days?
Kyle, do you have a copy? Okay.
Everybody, and I apologize for not being here to you at the dates requested. They were known to me. I got a little bit.
If you could hold off until Kevin returns before we start discussing anything, that'd be great. Does everyone have one?
Yes, I do.
Russell?
What I passed out to you is 3 different proposals, and I will discuss them here in a moment. Once again, I thank Bill for dealing with me not turning in my budget until now. Once again, I apologize, especially to Anita. You made the deadline very clear, and I blame you for that. That being said, you have 3 pieces of paper in front of you. You take the packet, and you have 3 different proposals. The first of which I understand is probably the most shocking. We'll go through the line items below salary, since those are all identical to 3 proposals. We'll do that first. Office expense, $2,000. Just over $150 increase in this current fiscal year, and honestly, that's more of a consolidation on my part because that includes money that we will have to spend for the LEPC. So, I don't mind. That would be $3,000 for mileage and travel. I think get more established in the community with my position, traveling, meetings, classes. I think over the past couple of weeks I've got involved with 2 more committees, so $700 for education and dues expense. That's less than the current fiscal year. $900 for telephone. That's less than the current fiscal year. That's not like I need the entire process. Are there any questions on those line items?
Did you specify what the increase in office expenses for from $1,200 to $2,000?
I don't know. And I can go into more detail about that. I have a number of projects that I will need to address in the coming years. One is radio equipment inside the EOC of my office. In order to be a viable EOC, you need communications and you need backup communications. Backup communications is typically radio. Radio communications are not working currently in the EOC, and I'm working with volunteer radio operators to hopefully fix that as cheaply as possible. However, I will probably have to expend some funds for that. In addition, I had a number of telephones installed in my office, which has worked out, which is great. Not all of them work correctly, so if I have to have them repaired, that money there. In addition, the LEPC is still working on its hazardous HMR plan, or hazardous materials response plan, and with that in mind, once that gets done, a lot of paper will be used to print that off and distribute it to necessary parties. Also, with HMEP money, the grant for LEPC, purchasing a printer to do that, because my current printers are slightly antiquated.
Didn't we increase your budget for this fiscal year for $644 for a printer for that?
$644 would not cover the printer. It would cover paper and such. $644 was a portion of the grant that we applied for.
Right, so that grant, we're not going to use that in the current fiscal year?
We would. $644. That was the county's match.
Right.
In order to get the grant and, if possible, if there's leftover money throughout the state of other LEPCs that do not use their funds, to get extra funds. It's possible, not guaranteed.
But there was a printer in that grant budget?
In the grant budget, yes.
So this is for another printer?
No, this would be for that printer.
So don't we already have it budgeted in this fiscal year?
If it could be purchased in this fiscal year, yes. I'm not sure yet. $2,000 is not an awful lot of money when it comes to an officer's office expense. I've expended a lot of paper and ink, and with that in mind, whether I'm going to purchase the printer this year or next year, if I purchase the printer, I will put off other projects to the next fiscal year, like the radio equipment that I just suggested. Are there any other questions concerning the other line items besides salary? Salary I will address in full here in a moment. I figured I'd save it for last. Okay. Three proposals. The only way they're different is in salary. The first one is for $40,000, the second is for $24,000, and the third is for $16,360. The $40,000 salary is me asking to be hired full-time as the EMA coordinator. And I'm asking this for a number of reasons. Ultimately, I believe that an EMA coordinator position should be full-time for a county, especially one as large as Alice. And I know this subject has been broached in the past, and I know that I've been a full-time EMA coordinator for Iroquois County. I know it. However, here are a number of things that I will be able to work on in a more viable setting if I were a full-time EMA coordinator. A volunteer corps. Throughout this current disaster, I've actually relied heavily on volunteers from other counties. I have not had time to build a viable volunteer corps. I've had a number of volunteers from our county that have been considered with. Michael Johnson was one that is here almost as much as I am. But with that in mind, I had to rely heavily on Kankakee County CERT, Certified Emergency Response Team. Also, Douglas County came up with a volunteer team to do damage assessment 2 Saturdays ago, which helped immensely. And then also, last Thursday, had a number of volunteer emergency managers throughout the state come in to continue damage assessment. If I were able to create EMA's own volunteer corps here at Iroquois County, it would help considerably during disasters and also in preparation and recovery. Training these volunteers would include community and include response to the community during another disaster. That in mind, moving on to the next, the Emergency Operations Plan. This is my responsibility, and currently it is up to code according to the state. However, I do not believe that it is entirely functional. Being hired full-time EMA coordinator would give me the time that I need in order to rewrite this plan. I've already started, but it's a very long plan. It's very complicated and needs a lot of buy-in from community partners. Along with that example, I mean, I can talk about the HMR plan or Hazardous Materials Response Plan that I'm working on for the LEPC. I've been on this for months. And the reason why it takes months, even though it's part of an emergency operations plan, is because it requires so much buy-in from the community. I have to pull from different agencies and departments, figure out what they're doing, what they're willing to do, and make sure everybody agrees on what we need to do in the event of a hazardous materials emergency. So, full-time EMA coordinator would give me better time in order to complete these tasks. One large one in my mind is the hazardous mitigation plan, which is up for renewal this fall. This is a 5-year plan in which we implement strategies and projects which the county and incorporated villages and such within would like to accomplish in the next 5 years to mitigate hazards such as floods, tornadoes, hazardous materials emergencies, and such like that. I have not seen a lot of the current hazardous mitigation plan enacted, and this plan is 100 pages long. With that, like I said, it has to be renewed this fall, and regardless of whether I'm full-time or part-time, it will get done. But full-time will help me to be able to make it better and make sure that all the communities within Iroquois County, including the county itself, are in agreement on what needs to happen. And the reason why this is really important is because if we write a good plan, and if we follow the plan, we could possibly get grant money to help with the projects. 75%, imagine, or whatever entity is responsible for the project in hand, is responsible for 25%. No, it's not a promise, but that is available. So if you would consider a tornado-proof building at, say, an example, the fairgrounds or other common place that doesn't have a tornado-proof building. This building can be used for a number of things throughout the year, but also be built in a way that is tornado-proof. And those responsible for the cost, if this grant, got this grant, would pay 25% as opposed to 100%. And this is a good opportunity to build construction, create temporary jobs, build good infrastructure for the safety of Iroquois County citizens. Overly good reason to hire me as full-time EMA coordinator is because of the increasing number of hazards in Iroquois County and throughout the world. I want to talk natural disasters. I think that's fresh in everybody's mind. Throughout this flood, I've worked easily over 70 hours per week. I'm working on average 14-hour days because it needs to be done. Pipelines. There are a number of pipelines running through our county. I'm sure a lot of you know. Herscher, which is occupied by county, the junction for pipelines, but allows us to travel straight south into Mills Grove Township. Along the east side of the county, along the state line, there's a pipeline that transports hexane. If you ask anybody who knows what hexane is, they shake their head and run the way. Trains. Pay attention to, there's been plenty of reports of train derailment. In order for the country to keep up with industry, sometimes you have to transport hazardous materials, such as Bakken crude oil. And we have a number of hazardous materials that travel through our county, just about on every railway, including the CSX railway that goes through town here. Not to mention Union Pacific, which goes to Gilman, Clifton, Narda, Buckley, and Milton. Interstate, a number of hazardous materials travel down there, and it also creates a large, while it creates revenue and traffic for the county. It's a lot of problems that could come from that. Hazardous materials that are used here in county, the largest one in my mind is anhydrous ammonia. That's everywhere. And everywhere where it's being used, I don't like to be because I don't know if you ever breathe stuff, but it pretty much stops you from breathing. And these are just some examples of hazards that I keep in mind and I'm trying to prepare for. Because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Being full-time EMA coordinator would allow me to better prepare for these things. It's not my job to prevent disasters unless I can, but to manage them. So, I mind being a full-time coordinator would help me do that. Now, the turn the question in your mind is, well, what about my public health position? I don't want to leave the public health department. I enjoy my job there. The work there is good. The people there are great to work with. The reason why I'm asking to be full-time EMA coordinator is not only because I think the position deserves a full-time employee, but also it's hard for me to work with two different mindsets. It's possible, and it has worked out so far. But moving forward, I'd like to make either program more robust in order to ensure the safety of Iroquois County citizens. Also, I have a large life change coming up soon, getting married in less than 2 months. With that in mind, my fiance does not live here, and she currently makes over 15 grand more than you. There are benefits and cons to us living in either place. And making $40,000 a year here would make our decision easier. Now, I want to be clear, this is not an ultimatum, because I know how that would go. I don't want to play that game, and if I did play that game, I'm pretty sure I know what would happen. Which I understand. I'm a government employee and completely replaceable. With that in mind, I think the past few weeks have shown my capability with my position, and I would appreciate increased faith in my ability to grow EMA into something that is more robust, and something that can further protect and help Iroquois County citizens. What I've asked for is less than my fiance currently makes, so I'm not trying to highball you. I'm asking for what I think we can live off. And I understand your hesitancy. It's probably the worst time to ask for such a raise.
I agree with that one.
Yeah. So, and I completely understand denial of this, and I will have no hard feelings as such. The grant that covers my EMA...
I do want to caution the committee right now, because that is the thought process of making a decision based on somebody's marital status is illegal. So let's just be clear as we consider this that we do so for the right reason. Okay?
Thank you, Peter. And thank you for that. She's completely right. Doesn't matter that I'm getting married, doesn't matter that I'm single, or that I live in married. But just life change, and that's the reason why I bring it up. The grant that pays for my EMA position is 50% reimbursable for a number of things except for response-related activities. So with the first proposal, we used $40,000. It would cover $20,000. With the second proposal, which is me working half-time EMA, that is $24,000. It would cover $12,000. And with the third proposal, $16,360. It would cover half of that. As I said before, I understand that our position is inmates. Part of the our feelings about it. And that's about all I have to say. And I will gladly entertain any questions.
I'll tell you, you need to get this stuff to her in time.
Yes, sir.
Jack Youssef is up next at 10:15. I'm just going to step out for about 2 minutes. I'll be right back. That's okay? Yeah, that's okay.
Yep, I already did one. Say you couldn't, so we get back on.
Longer meeting today,
Well, there was one thing. You're up, Doc. Yeah, we're
Hello, everybody. So, if you give me like 1 minute exactly just to explain one thing before we go through the budget for 2016. We are in the process of going for a new system for the animal control. We are getting like a new clerk, secretary to take care of tags, registration, things like that. We're going to be separated from the treasurer office, so it's going to be slowly animal control. So the new system is, instead of like people will come here to pay the registration, get the tag, stuff like that, we're going to distribute these type of registration forms and tags to the veterinarians around here. And then when anybody comes to the veterinarian for vaccine, the time they get the vaccine, the time they get the registration, pay the money, get the tag, and then the vet office will collect all of these items and send it to the animal control office here within like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then all what the clerk will do is just put all the information inside the computer with the names and everything. This is going to be less work for everybody and easy for the county to track which dogs are vaccinated with rabies, which are not. So we have every time, and this was following the Illinois Rule, Animal Act. Every time animal comes to the office for vaccine, he has to be registered and he has to get the tag so we can know which is which. So we got a new system, and with the help of Dale and Kyle, we got a new system, software, and we're waiting to feed all our data, to the new system, and then we're going to start working. Based on that, we have some changes here, a little bit of changes. So I want to go from down to up actually, and then if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. And for the miscellaneous, it's kind of like, some paperwork or education materials, things like that. I just put $100. And then all the above, 0. And then the service contract is that, which is the animal officer, it's for Shea, it's 24,000. And education materials again is 0, but we can be included with the 100 down there. And then the animal, and then mileage and travel, this is only for Shea, $6,000. And then the animal care, which stay in the facility, have the vaccine. So any animal comes to the facility, a stray dog, we have to get rabies vaccine and the similar vaccine. And then we call around, we have a website, we put the picture there and put some information. If the owner recognizes the dog, will come back to our facility and get the dog back, paying the fine, paying the money for the vaccine. And then if nobody claims the dog within 10 days, we have to move it to Vermilion County. So this one, and then this including the euthanasia, like and cremation of the body of the dead animal. So this is 25,000. And then the office supply vaccination tag. Last year was 600. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a full cat, but this year I mixed like 1,500 because we're gonna make some changes, like I said. And then the clerk salary. This is the one we're gonna hire her. It's gonna be a part-time job, because she doesn't have to stay here all the time, because she only gonna receive the money and registration things in the computer, and she can go home unless we have like an emergency or something happening. She can come and finish whatever she needs to finish. This is gonna be 12,000 a year. And then the last one, which is completely different than the years before, this is my salary, and I put like here 30,000 a year based on the research I did and based on asking the other directors and administrators around here. I have some tables here. If you write down, and I want you to do the research, please. Animal control administrator in Watika. And then you get to the average salary.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Please.
On the animal care, who's that? Is that you?
This is the animal, what she cannot function, yeah. We have like a stage for the animal control dog and cat. We don't mix them together, so we have like a special, we feed them and we have like a...
Yeah, but that's your facility.
Yes, sir.
You're talking going from 12,000 to 30,000?
This is my own salary. But again, like you do the research and see what's the average salary around here.
We do some research around the service contract.
The service contract is for the animal officer, 24,000.
Okay, because ours says something different.
Yeah, ours says 29. I was given a handwritten, and I noticed that when you were saying it, I must have looked at that wrong. I thought it was a 9 instead of a 4. So that's just a typo on my part. It should be 24,000.
The animal officer pick up dog, it's $85. If it's like you go to investigate a case, $55. She didn't pick up anything.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah.
I did do, Kyle had asked me yesterday to compare some animal control costs in other counties similar to ours. So I did call 5 different counties yesterday, 1, 2, 3, 4 counties I got a hold of, and you can see that. On the top page is all the counties. This is the UCCI salary survey, which has all the counties that respond, but that's United Counties Council of Illinois. It's a group of individuals that assist county board members. And so that's all the issues on salaries for animal control administrator on top. So I called up the counties near us, and you can see that, another one, you can see that on the second page. I actually spoke to all the individuals on page 3 and 4 and did a survey and asked them for all the salaries in their animal control group.
In most cases, yes, the administrator makes around $30,000 a year, but that person also serves as the warden and also does the animal care included in that. So when you looked at the total budget, you can see down below what we're currently paying this year in salaries is $74,000 for the data entry clerk, for animal care, for the shelter lease, for the animal control warden for Shays, and then for the veterinarian, $12,000. That's $74,000 that we're spending, compared to Shelby County, which has a population of 23,000, pays $36,400. Montgomery County has a population of 30,000, pays $51,000. That's all the people. Christian County, $43,000. All salaries included. Lee County, 36,000 people, $56,000 for all the salaries.
So can I ask a question? Montgomery, like the administrators take like 29,000?
Right.
Or 22,000, like separate?
Right. Those are two people, but they do all the data entry and they do the animal care, etc. together.
So what do you mean doing the animal care? Like, you know, they do the rabies vaccine, they do, so they are...
They have a veterinarian that comes in Montgomery County and charges them $10 to do a rabies shot.
Yeah. Only $10 for all the animals or just for each animal?
Each animal.
Each animal, right. So,
$10.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying...
But he says it's a few $100s. These people are telling me that it's a few $100s that they spend per month in vet fees. Every county told me that.
I'm just, like I said, you know, I did my research as well, and what I want to say is, like, you know, when a dog comes, and they was there when I was doing surgery to one of the stray dogs, because stray dogs can be my dog or going to somebody else, and I cannot put him down right away. I have to give the medical attention to the dog. And this dog specifically after the surgery, I didn't charge the county for my service. If you look at the, like, you know, the monthly payment thing, this is my flat fee, like, you know, my salary. So my medical care is not, it's included with the 24,000. You know what I mean? So, which is, like I said, if you do any surgery, the surgery can cost from like $500, $600.
And in my conversations with these other counties, if the animals are hurt, they put them down.
Right.
They don't do surgery on them
Right.
and then adopt them out.
No, we know that this particular specific dog had an owner, and he came and picked him up, and he was very appreciative. Because, like I said, imagine your dog just went outside and he didn't come back, and somebody picked him up, brought him to the animal control. We would be very upset if you know that, you know, we just put him down because he was hurt, like, you know, has like, you know, wound or gushing blood, whatever. We have to give him a care. And this is the law. Stay at our facility for 3 to 7 days. If nobody claims the dog, we can either put him down or move him to another facility. But we don't put dogs down because they are sick. Otherwise, we're going to go for really legal actions from people. I found a dog, he was sick, and they just put him down right away.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
We have to clearly follow the law.
Right.
But I guess it's not my place to question, but if it has an owner, why would the owner not pay for surgery? Why would the county have to bear that, or you bear that cost?
Well, I don't know the answer to this question. Because, you know, most of them, they don't have, like, money to pay for that. But it was like an emergency, like if you have a, if somebody is sick and go to the hospital for emergency, you don't ask for money at the beginning. So that's, I do my job, you know, just to save the dog or make him in a better shape, you know. Again, if this is my research about this, and if you look, if even the salaries of the other people, like, you know, the clerk or the animal officer, it's higher than the animal director. You know what I mean? So again, you don't forget that, you know, if I have a license, I have to renew the license, I have to renew this and that. The animal officer or the clerk doesn't have any of that. And again, if you look at the And that's what I've been told from the other directors, the other administrators. So, again, it's your decision, but this is my suggestion, just to be fair and efficient.
I gotta tell you, $18,000 jump is a hell of a jump. Money's pretty tight.
I put this number based on an average, like, what I've seen around.
So we're looking at $360,000 shortfall here. And I wish I had that kind of money. Anybody got any questions for the doctor?
All right, thank you very much.
He'll be back. I don't know. That seemed like a hell of a jump to me. That's it. Should I take $20,000? No, I'm not kidding. Yeah. It's got to be Tuesday, right? That's 2 in a row. Okay, who's next? Me. Ah! Hey, your light flashing on your phone. I don't know if I got that.
All right. On the revenue side, during 15 to 16, you'll see very few changes, with the exception I did in 15, that $287,000, that was the AMRIN reimbursement for that road. I'm working on doing a little better job of trying to get some of these insurance companies to pay when people are taking out the guardrail. That's the reason I got the $2,500, because I figured that's probably where that should go in, since we got that line item. I think before we got the money, we put it in this one. So, insurance reimbursement, I did add it. I never did. I tried to get a hold of you one day, and I finally had to add it factor on the insurance. So that's the reason that's up a little bit. Equipment rental, same as budgeted for last year.
Insurance reimbursement is the portion your employees pay, or you
No,
pay?
that's the portion that comes back from motor fuel tax to pay for my employees in the maintenance department.
Okay.
Yeah, because we pay it out of our county highway fund, and MFT reimburses the county highway fund. So, the township bridge engineering, looks like we're only going to have one bridge this year, this coming year. The miscellaneous, you'll see there's a pretty good jump in that, but there is a tandem, a pickup, and a shoulder spreader that I'm looking, there's surplus I'm looking to get rid of next year. That's my estimate between that and oversized overweight permits. That's where that 45 came from. On the expense side, and you may want to go back to this sheet with the salaries, in the department, assistant department head, and the key techie, which is the foreman maintenance department. I included a 30 cents an hour increase, assuming that's what the union was going to get. I was going to give them the same if that goes through. So that's where that increase came from. The group insurance, as I said, I have a factor in there for safety. Office expenses, the 17 projection is a little high because we spend most of our office expense. It comes out early in the year when we do our main maintenance letting, so that should be okay. The gas and oil backed off on projected from last year a little bit because gas prices still kept it high until we have another bad winter. Training kept the same. Wind farm expenses, as you can see, I did not have anything budgeted last year. Put some in there. We've retained the K4 group. We've retained a lawyer and for some advice on some issues with that. So I put a $3,000 in there. That's actually will be any expenses for the lawyer will be split 5 ways between the townships and the 2 counties. So there's 6 ways. The transfer to the general fund, I kept the same. One of them is our administrative costs. The second one is for the GIS. I was going to say GPS. GIS.
The second $10,000 line, he's transferring $10,000 to GIS as well.
I give you $20,000 the first year and $10,000 this year and $10,000 next. Building maintenance. I don't know. I was hoping to get the roof done on my maintenance portion. I haven't done that this year. So I left that high again. What else I've actually done? That could be more actually. That could be, but I just soon spend highway funds rather than motor fuel tax because there's a lot of hoops. Well, there's a lot of extra hoops you guys jump through and they usually just add cost. When we tried that letting, several years ago, it ended up being 2 or 3 times what the estimate was. So the road supplies and construction costs, the budget number at 542, that was due to that 3 miles of the loader road that we added in addition, and then we had the 4-mile stretch of county highway that went bad. I put $200,000 in there. Normally, if you look back historically, we haven't been spending that much, but once again, if we have another winter like this, I may have to spend some highway funds on the oil and chip. Snow plowing, I kept the same. Purchase of equipment, that's going to be the next payment on the loader, and my intention is in the summer to have another letting, order another chassis to get replace our 96 tandem, and then that we should be forever decent on tandems after that. So that's for the chassis only, because with timing it'll be into the next fiscal year before I get the plow. Dump that and everything put on it. So any questions on any of that? The big one that I've really got changes on is actually motor vehicle tax for next year. Some may think I'm optimistic. I was supposed to get, I didn't have it in the budget for this year. I was supposed to get $1.2 million for the 3 miles into Ashland with a jurisdictional transfer. They said they had the money, but the whole budget fiasco in Springfield right now, whether I get it this year or next year, I don't know. I just spent the day in Springfield yesterday talking to IDOT, trying to figure what we're going to do, and it doesn't sound like they're not real hopeful that this budget crisis is going to be solved even by October. So that's the reason I'd already put it in for next year. But that one, we're looking at the overall motor fuel tax distributions will probably be down a little bit, so we're looking at 1.2 million on top of what our forecast in 2015 is, how that number comes out.
Department head salary, I put a 2% increase, which is IDOT record. I don't know that that's what they're going to recommend. I won't know until January 1st. Well, usually December they send it out. It ranges anywhere from 0% to 2%. So I put the 2% in there just to see. I think last time it was 1.3 or 1.4. Salary reimbursement that comes off the sheet on the back. County engineer expenses, if you notice there's a little increase. Next year I will be like president of our association, so I'll be attending a few more meetings. So the transfer to the county highway fund, that is the health insurance reimbursement. Equipment rental and mileage, that's what we projected the last couple of years, or that's what we projected last year. That's on the income side of the highway fund. Contractors and supplies, I've got $1 million that is for to do work on Leonard Road and our oil and chip program both. We're looking at a little over $350,000 in our oil and chip program, and the rest will go on Leonard Road. But if I don't get that $1.2 million, all we'll do is the oil and chip. We won't do the Leonard Road work or the local road as well. Well, we currently have a contract with finish with the local road. The main one will get
So, out of the revenue side, more fuel tax, 1.2 of it was based off that revenue over now.
if the state gives us, yeah.
That was 1.2.
That's 1.2 what the projection is.
But then will you redo that road if you get that money?
Yeah,
You will?
Yeah, not right away. I'm probably going to work on actually our portion to the south of it needs work worse than this last part of it. And as long as we spend it in our system, it doesn't have to go. I'll probably look at, there's a bridge and 2 box culverts that need to be replaced on that road. I'll probably do those. The road will probably stay as it is for a while. Yeah. That's my intention anyway.
How much do you think we're going to lose on a motor fuel tax? Did the state rate it again?
No, they did not. That was another one of our big discussions. Well, they did rate it in March. They rated it in March. Our June allotments were down over 20%, but part of that was due to they had some deposits that didn't make it in time. They actually made it in July, and there was another allotment that didn't make it in, and I can't remember what the explanation of why, but they said the July allotment, when we get it, will actually be up. So the question is when we're going to get it, because even though by statute, by law, the MFT money is collected and it is to be distributed by formula, they cannot distribute it until the state is appropriated to this item. With no budget, it's not appropriated. IDOT still gets theirs through formula, but we don't get ours. So actually in the meeting, there's actually several counties, we can have a sidebar on this, there's actually several counties that are looking at layoff in the next couple months if the MFT doesn't come because they reject their MFT out. They spend basically their spending advance. They've already suspended oil and chip work because they don't think they're going to have the money to pay for it. We asked IDOT what they can do to help us, and they said, well, as long as the state employees are getting paid, we're not going to be much use to you to go to your elected officials and have you guys contact your state reps, state senators, and say, hey, listen, this is getting serious. Things are, people are starting to shut down. Nobody's shut down yet, but I know several counties that backed down. They're not working. They're really worried about if this continues past August or September, they're going to start laying people off, maintenance workers, which gets into a whole safety issue. Who do you call up to? I think at the next meeting with the township road commissioners. We're actually, luckily enough, we're one of the counties that's in a lot better shape. With this year won't really affect us. If it continues more after December, January, then next year's program for everybody's going to be a nightmare. But if we can get through the remainder of this year, just because of the way we do our projections for our expenditures. So that's why we're so boxy. When you talk to Barrett, when you talk to Bennett, grab their ears and say, hey, we need to do something. I don't know what IDOT's going to do because they don't have an operating budget to work on. For too long, they're not going to be able to pay tenders. Right now, they're taking all the bond money for bond projects and spending it to keep operating.
You don't have to work for how easy it is when people get in trouble.
Because Joel, your fund comes through IDOT, that's through IDOT.
It actually, well, yes and no. They do come through IDOT, but it's actually council that holds the money, but IDOT has to authorize the release of it, and without appropriations, they can't do it.
Because I've got the Cook County judges degrees, and IDOT is not listed in here. Regional Transportation Authority, there's different ones, Department of Revenue, but IDOT.
Yeah.
The ones that she has been, the comptroller's been ordered to continue to pay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that MSG wasn't.
No. And that was one of the discussions when this all gets settled. We're trying to figure out how to get something passed. Maybe introduce a law to make it to where we get. But the IDOT gets there and each record. They don't. It's weird. We have, for them to give us our money, it has to be appropriate. But IDOT automatically gets their direct. Why it's done that way, it's all by formula, so we should get ours automatically too, and that was our argument yesterday. Of course, when we were meeting with IDOT people, they feel for us, but they can't do much for us, so it was a depressing meeting. So, on the, I guess, any questions? Salary includes the salary page includes the 30 cents across the board, including for the non-union people. The county bridge, pretty much the same projection as last year. Actually, county bridge, the expenditure side probably should be a little less. I just don't know the engineering on some of these bridges is getting so ridiculously priced that I went ahead and spent the full amount, but I never know. Used to be when I first started somewhere between 15 and 20% of the cost of the bridge is what the cost of preliminary engineering was. Now, the cheapest we've had is 13%, the most expensive was 28%, so it's just all over the board. It's hard to get. I finally went to one consultant that does a not to exceed, which I really prefer that way. I know the maximum I'm going to pay, absolute max, but until I get a contract from them, I really don't know where that's going to sit. So, same way with matching tax. We're looking at matching tax. We've got an oil, we've got a resurfacing project, which our portion is going to be a little over $220,000 on it, and then the remainder is for preliminary engineering for bridge design. It shows us a negative. We do have a balance, although our balances are getting. Our matching tax and county bridge balances are depleted. Questions on any of those?
What did you just tell me the two projects were on that one?
I've got a Bryce Road, we're going to do a resurfacing, and then I've got another bridge, and I have to go back and look. I've got a county bridge that we've got to put out for design. Actually, the bridge won't be built next year, it'll be the following year, which would be fiscal year 20. Well, by the time we get done, it'll actually be 2018, which would be 2017. So, get a bridge designed in about 9 months, and it seems like with all the additional paperwork and everything that they keep adding on that they want, it's taking 12 months, sometimes longer. I have to go look, I don't remember. No, Woodland's already designed. Woodland, we've got almost 200,000 designed Woodland bridge. So that one's already, the preliminary's already paid for on that. And that one will be constructed in 2020, because we got major bridge funds for that. Not any worse than anybody else, but yeah. There's a few counties that are well set, but we're still looking. I'm trying to get the state to approve a modular bridge system for these low volume roads. We've got one now that we're looking at. We're probably going to have to close. It serves one house, and it's a dead end. And we're looking at $360,000 to $440,000 replacing the bridge or box culvert. This modular bridge system, we're looking at about $250,000. I just having trouble. IDOT's not wanting to approve this system. And I'm like, I don't understand when you're looking to serve one house in one field what the harm is and putting in a 16 or 20 foot wide bridge. But I'm getting a lot of resistance on it. So we looked at that. I had a consultant look at designing a low water bridge or low water crossing for it, where there's actually a study group putting together a design. Unfortunately, the flow on that drainage ditch is too high to make it work in that location. And with the flood, actually, those existing bridges there was a 4 foot of water. So, I don't know exactly. Yeah, it's already a low water bridge, and the roadway on either side of it is probably a good 3 to 4 feet below the bridge deck. So there was 7, 8 feet of water to go through to get it inside. The guy was going to commute back and forth to the house. That's just south of 52 and Ashland, right by the river, the Ashland, Shabazz township line. I don't see that. That one. Let's see, what we have to Township Bridge. Our Township Bridge, our normal allotment is between $345,000 and $360,000. Township Bridge is one of those that is actually the last governor's recommended budget. The Township Bridge program was on it, so it looks like that program is going to stay, which it should, because it's actually by law. It's a $50 million program. But unfortunately, the $350,000 that used to build 2 to 3 bridges is now usually about 1 bridge. So we're actually picking the bridges according to what we can do it with the year's program money or not. I feel bad. Some of these counties are getting under $100,000, and it's taking 4 years for them to get enough money to build a bridge.
Don't they ever review that and try to update it?
Well, it's distributed by formula, which has to do with the number of delinquent square footage of bridges you have, and no, I think that the ACP is delinquent square footage. It's by mileage on the township bridge, and the problem is it's a set dollar amount. It's $15 million is what they have to spend. We've tried over the years to get them to double that, because it's been the same since 78 or 79 when they created the program. It's been $15 million ever since. So you can imagine, you do 8 or 10 bridges when it started, and now you can do 1 if you're lucky. But nobody wants to increase the amount. So On the motor fuel tax, we're forecasting, once again, a small decrease over what 2015. We still don't know where the 2015 is going to come in at. In the meeting yesterday, they said that they'd make us whole, which, unless they pass legislation, they really can't sweep it again. But they swept it once. They pass legislation, sweep it once. It doesn't mean they won't do it on the next. If they come up with a budget, they maybe sweep it again. And then, usually, historically, with the exception of a couple townships which have large balances, we've been spending less than what we've been bringing in the last few years. So we try to hold it down. Some of the townships don't like it too well. They want to spend every dime they got, but actually it's worked out pretty good for us this year when compared to some of the other counties. So. And I don't know how long I'm going to be able to hold them back if they got money, because we got bridges, we got culverts, we've had a lot of culverts fail this year due to the amount of rain, and the guys they don't have the local funds to put in anything bigger than the 36, 48 inches, about as big as they can go, so we're going to have to start looking at spending on fuel tax on more of those. So there's my doom and gloom for today.
But you didn't ask for how long more than...
The realistic is that, with the exception of the township motor fuel, or the county motor fuel tax, if we don't get the money that I've been told that we were going to get this year, maybe in the budget for next year, my operating budget for next year is going to cut considerably. I mean, I'm just going to have to cut it accordingly because I don't know. But until they get this budget situation in place, I don't know what to do with fuel tax. All I'm going to do is I'll put it, I'm expecting, and it doesn't come in, then we're going to have to cut back when we have our letting in January. Unknown. But like I said, IDOT said that they're not going to be able to help at all with the motor fuel tax or any of the budget issues this time because their employees are getting paid. So without the local employees there in Springfield complaining to the legislature. So they said the locals in the county. They also said that when you do talk to your legislators, ask for push for a capital bill. I'm not a huge capital bill fan because I think we need sustained funding, but at this point, anything we can get a shot in the arm and keep going helps. Because usually what happens with the capital bill is they distribute it by some type of formula. A lot of times they use the motor fuel tax formula. So we won't get specific projects, we'll get X amount of dollars. But legislators like capital bills because they can cut ribbons and get votes. So, like I said, you guys talk, I'm going to see, I know I'm going to see Tom this weekend, and you guys see Tom, talk to Jason, twist their ears, twist their arms, twist whatever you got to twist to get them to. And I don't think you're going to find much argument with them. It's the whole Democrat versus Republican thing going on in the legislature that we can't. Unfortunately, we don't have any control over. So I had a good meeting yesterday. Yeah, well, the scary thing is you get guys saying, hey, we're going to, there's a couple of counties that are already talking, they're looking at laying off maintenance employees because they've projected out so far. They can go a couple months and that's it, and there's a lot of townships that are worse off. And townships probably won't be noticed quite as bad because of the number of employees affected. But the whole safety issue, I mean, if your township closed down because they can't buy anything, they can't fix anything, and you get a storm come through and you get a culvert washed bigger deal with the county if you don't have the maintenance crew. They recommend, IDOT actually recommended that we get maintenance, or, they refer to it as, but basically get agreement in Mr. Township that they can do work on your road and you can do work on theirs, just in case this doesn't get settled. And I had lunch with the gentleman yesterday, and he basically didn't think it'll be settled. In October, it still won't be settled. So, we may be in this one for the long haul. I don't know. So, yeah. Any other good news you want me to? You good? Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody want to go home?
I move we adjourn.
A second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.